do you begin the process to actually of self-actualization, of self-awareness, when you're so far gone on the fixed mindset that things in your life are crumbling and everyone else is to blame? That's that's good evidence. If everything in your life is crumbling and you're pointing the finger at everybody else, well, and you're probably the common denominator, that's probably like the best scenario I can think of to be like on the fixed mindset side of things. Tell me, like, the worst case scenario of somebody you've worked with or helped. What tools are they using? What questions are they asking? How do they even get a seed?
Yeah, that's really good. And it's funny you bring up sort of like the victim mentality, because people will talk about, oh, I have this client who has a victim mentality, and then I have this other client that has a fixed mindset. I'm like, no, they're kind of the same thing, actually. And a lot of people who are putting themselves in this like victim place, that really is stemming from having a fixed mindset. So again, I'm very biased being a mindset researcher, but I really do think many of these terms and things and like why this person can't seem to figure out what they're doing and why they are the way that they are probably boils down to their mindset. So when it comes to actually starting to recognize some of this stuff, and like what questions can you ask yourself, or like very similarly, so inside the health mindset coaching certification with my students, I'm constantly saying like, just please ask more questions. Just like sit on your hands instead of like just telling someone what to do, and ask more questions. And that is like the number one thing I'm constantly saying. And I think it's really important that you do that with yourself too, when it comes to your own mindset. So first and foremost, we really just want to start paying attention. And that's kind of what I was getting at before with the self-awareness, right? And just trying to press pause in some of these situations, because it is very habitual a lot of the time for us to think this way. It's important to recognize that neuroplasticity is a thing. So just because you've thought that way, and that's kind of like the route your brain's taken for the last decade, 2 decades, whatever, doesn't mean you can't start going a different route. And the more you do that, the more reps you put in that direction, the stronger that's going to get, and the weaker the old route's going to get. So a couple things I like to at least give people to start to pay attention to when it comes to determining, because they can say like, okay, I want to shift to more of a growth mindset. I'm hearing you, I need to pay attention, but like, what do I pay attention to? What do I look for? Like, what questions am I asking to see, like, where's my fixed mindset showing up in the first place? Because that's really the first place to start. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking at all like, okay, my mindset is something I need to work on, but where do I go? Because we've said like 600 times already that it's some people don't even know that they have the fixed mindset, or it's happening to them and it's kind of like this unconscious thing. So a few things I like to tell people to look at is feedback, setbacks, and success. So with feedback, we're talking about if you're getting feedback from a romantic partner, a friend, your parent, coworker, something. Someone's giving you feedback on whether it's a project you did, a conversation, anything. How do you respond to that feedback? And not just like directly to that person, but what are you thinking in your head? So you may say like, oh, thank you for that feedback to the person in the back of your head. You're like, she doesn't know what she's talking about at all. So if that's still happening, that is very much a fixed mindset. So someone who has a fixed mindset receives feedback will often push it away or not really take it seriously, or they may take it like as a personal attack because they're thinking like, well, this is all I've got. This is as good as it gets, because they feel like they can't change. So now it feels very attacking if they get any kind of constructive criticism, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas someone with a growth mindset seeks feedback. They're thinking, oh my gosh, I need to hear from these people. I need to know how that went. I need to know how I'm doing, because that is the route for improvement. That's how I get better. Like they're constantly asking. An example of this, I recently ran like a 3-day workshop series for health and fitness coaches. And I had 2 of my staff members on those calls. First thing I'm doing after I get off those calls is texting them like, okay, real, raw, honest feedback, go. Like I'm looking for that. Right. Because now we have 2 more of these. I want to know how I can improve before then. So that is very much growth mindset, fixed mindset when we're talking about feedback. So next one is setbacks. We all experience setbacks when we're working towards something. That is inevitable. It's part of the process. People with a fixed mindset who in the back of their mind are just not sure that they can actually do it will see those setbacks as essentially just evidence that they can't. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like see, I told you so. Can't do it. That's what it is. A lot of times that's where people start to throw in the towel and are like, I told you, just like every other diet strategy, workout program I've done, I'm not able to stick with it. Clearly, because I missed 1 week, right? Someone with a growth mindset may see that missed week as like, okay, we have some information here. That didn't work so well last week. I wasn't able to be as consistent as I've been. Why? What does that mean? Where's that coming from? Maybe I need a different strategy. How I set up my schedule last week clearly just didn't work. That's good to know. And now what do we do going forward? Very different. And I'm kind of like showing the most extreme examples here. So I'd love those of you who are listening to think like where maybe you do fall on that spectrum of those things. And the last one is success. So success, I'm not saying your own success, but like the success of other people. How do you feel about that? You're scrolling Instagram, you have a weight loss goal yourself, you come across Sharon from the 12th grade and she has this big, beautiful family now. She looks like she's thriving. She's lost 100 pounds. It's crazy. What do you think about Sharon? Someone with a fixed mindset is going to think like, oh, well, she married that guy. He has a ton of money. They probably have like an in-home chef and a like personal trainer comes to her house. Like she got it handed to her. They're justifying why her success is the way that it is. Oh, you know, she did always have really good genetics. So like that makes sense. So kind of just trying to explain away her success and usually in ways that are not possible for that person. So that person's genetics, they got it handed to them, whatever. Those are things that I don't have and I can't have, right? So fixed mindset thoughts will go that way. Someone with a growth mindset will say, wow, look at Sharon. This is so cool. I said Sharon, right? I was like, Sharon's Shandy, Susan.
One of them. One of them. Yeah.
Look at her. Like, this is amazing. This is like so inspiring. Like if she could do it, then I for sure can do it. And you know what? Like since I knew her in high school, maybe I'll reach out and see what she's doing. Maybe I can get some resources from her, some thoughts from her, some ideas, some more motivation, inspiration, and essentially see these other people's success as evidence that you can too, rather than evidence of, well, I can't do that, only she can. So those are a few that I like to point out specifically because I think they're very common. And this is where a lot of times people think, oh, I have a growth mindset. But then they hear me say these things and they go, oh, yeah, maybe sometimes I have a growth mindset.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Where the spectrum comes in.
Yes, exactly.
So feedback, setbacks, and success. Those are the three crossroads in which you're looking to become self-aware.
Yeah, that's where I would start for sure because they come up a lot.
Yes. Okay. I love that. So one of my favorite books of all time is Mindset by Carol Dweck. Have you read that book?
Oh, many times.
Oh, is that like, okay, good.
Yeah,
You're a fan of it?
My PhD advisor
Yes.
works closely with Carol.
Okay,
so she's
great.
kind of like my academic grandmother in a way.
Okay, great. I love that. No, that book is amazing. That's one of the first times I ever heard fixed versus growth mindset. And I love your take on it. You also give your own real spin on it too. I've never heard it laid out like that before. I think that's a great tool for people to just write down and put in the back of their mind, just that feedback, that setbacks and success are the three areas in life where you're going to look to actually become self-aware. Because self-awareness is the kickstart, like you said, to so many, especially to a mental health journey or transformation or moving from fixed to growth mindset on the spectrum. Wow, that's really good. Dr. Casey, you're bringing it today. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I wrote down a question that I personally wanted to ask you. And it was around building mental resilience. Okay. And we have all of these strategies for health and fitness, obviously a workout. Okay. I think there's three levels to a workout. I think there's activity, exercise, and then training.
Fair.
Activity, meaning, hey, I'm walking. Great. Awesome. Keep going.
I talk with my hands a lot.
Yep. Your activity is like maybe your job is intense.
Yep.
You're a roofer, you climb up the ladder all day. Great. Exercise might be like cycling. But, the classic talk test, we can talk to each other and ride a bike. But then there's training where it demands more out of you than you are willing to demand out of yourself. You can't talk. It's the most present form of active meditation when it comes to fitness. Okay, we've got that established. So activity and exercise to me don't build a lot of mental resilience. Good physical benefits, obviously. But it's that next level, that training level, where you're really going to show yourself what you're made of. Whether it's jumping into a contrast, like a cold, hot contrast, and you're jumping into a cold plunge. Nobody wants to actually really do that, right? What are the mindset benefits, the mental benefits to being able to do these really hardcore things that your mind is like saying, no, don't do that. Don't do that. We want to be safe. We want to be comfortable. We have a need for certainty. Don't. And then it creates this fear, it creates this anxiety. And then it's ironically, like when we overcome that, there's something that happens mentally that's addicting. What is that?
Yeah, honestly, I think it can boil back down to a growth mindset, because you're sitting here thinking like there's so many people that would never do this, can't do this. And there's so many people who say like, I would never be able to cold plunge every day. I could never be in 30-degree temps for a minute and a half. Like that is a fixed mindset, right? So I think we recognize that a lot of people do operate that way. So we go, no, like I think I'm capable of doing that. You're kind of cultivating a growth mindset by proving to yourself that you're capable of doing hard things. And I will say this is something I've talked about a lot, and now I wish I like did more research on this when I was still pursuing my PhD. We don't really know for sure how much having a growth mindset in one area spills over into other areas. It is very domain specific. So just because you have a growth mindset about your ability to sit in 30-degree water for 2 minutes does not mean you have a growth mindset about your ability to lose weight or your ability to climb the ranks in your career. So they are very separate. And so we don't necessarily know like, okay, well, if I start to do this, can it start to help over here? But I think logically, and, you know, from my professional opinion, I do think there has to be something there, right? If you start to prove to yourself in these other areas that you can do it, especially if it's something hard and not a lot of other people are willing to do it, care to do it, think that they can do it, then why would it not make you feel a little bit more confident in doing other things in your life? I think what's most important is having yourself or maybe some other people in your corner who are helping you make those connections. That's something we do a lot in my health and fitness coaching company with our clients, is helping them recognize where they are showcasing a growth mindset in their life and ask them, you know, okay, well, what are the strengths? Like, what does that look like for you? How did you get there? And then see how we can start to bring that over into their health and fitness, their weight loss goals, things of that nature. So yeah, I think that's a lot of it.